In the stillness of the night, a horrifying secret begins to unravel. The woman known as the Shadow Queen, with her power to command the raging storms, kneels before me, swearing allegiance like a mere slave. Little did anyone know that behind her formidable facade lies a heart filled with fear and despair. Her daughter, witnessing this harrowing scene, couldn't hold back her tears, the dread evident in her every gesture. And now, with just 10 days left, the doomsday approaches, bringing with it tempestuous winds that will sweep away all hope. What shall we do then to save humanity and ourselves? At that time, over 90 beings will transform into monsters and zombies. The remaining survivors will awaken their latent powers. Of course, the gods who govern the laws of the universe will descend upon the mortal realm. In my past life, in my desperate quest for survival, I could only cling to the shadow of the dark goddess. I allowed her to command me. Though I tried my utmost to fulfill every task she assigned, one single failure led her to mercilessly annihilate me. As I faced death, I carried with me a fury and a sense of injustice, vowing that if I were to be reborn, I would repay her 100-fold for all the suffering I endured. Fortunately, I stumbled upon a mysterious hourglass that possesses the ability to turn back time, a secret unknown to all. When I awoke once more, I found myself back in my university dormitory from days gone by. At first, I thought it was merely a dream, but when I glanced at the time displayed on my phone, I can hardly believe that I returned just 10 days before disaster struck. But now that fate has granted me a second chance, this time I will take my revenge. I won't cling to any lives, and I will trample the dark goddess beneath my feet. However, to achieve this goal, I must first awaken the latent powers within me. That's why I've come to the hospital where the outbreak began in my previous life. In that life, it was discovered that before the apocalypse, some individuals began to mutate. I just need to identify and harness those individuals to enhance my resistance virus to level 1 from my previous existence. After a thorough search, I indeed found the mutated patients in the ward. Upon seeing them, I quickly pulled out a syringe and plunged it into the artery of one of them. In an instant, the decaying purple blood of the zombie rapidly filled the syringe. Once finished, I returned to my dorm room. My roommates had all gone to the internet cafe to play games all night, providing me the perfect opportunity to activate my hidden powers. Although there was a high chance of becoming part of the undead army, just thinking about the grotesque face of the dark goddess steeled my resolve. I thrust the syringe into my arm without hesitation. As the virus fully invaded my body, a wave of excruciating pain enveloped me, and in mere moments, I collapsed to the ground. In my fevered slumber, I caught a glimpse of the dark goddess, her voice echoing in my mind as she urged me to surrender, to embrace the shadows. Yet deep within, I knew I could not succumb here. The next morning, my roommates returned, still buzzing from a night of revelry. Just a heartbeat later, I heard their panicked cries, fear gripping them like a vice. As I glanced into the mirror, I realized I resembled a lifeless husk. The ravenous instincts of the undead surged within me as I slowly advanced toward them, until a familiar voice broke through the haze. "Chen Bai, what's wrong?" It was then that I snapped back to reality, escaping the clutches of my zombified state. After exchanging a few casual words, I disregarded their bewilderment and dashed into the bathroom. Staring into the mirror, I noticed the traces of the virus fading away from my body. I understood then that my latent power had fully awakened. Just at that moment, a celestial voice resonated in my mind, announcing that I had been chosen to become a vanguard, bestowed with the corresponding title. Unable to contain my excitement, I opened the title interface. To my astonishment, its effects could enhance my attribute acquisition rates and experience points. Most importantly, the attributes panel had been activated ahead of schedule. Displayed on the screen was my latent ability, a 3S-level Virus King skill. It was essential to recognize that this was the most potent power within the virus system, capable of absorbing, controlling, transforming, and creating viruses. Unfortunately, my current strength is still quite limited. I need to harness a significant amount of the virus to enhance it, and the best source of the virus is undeniably the hospital. Little did I expect that the hospital has now descended into chaos, overrun by the undead. A man rushing by barely remembers to shout a warning. The zombies are coming. Run. Hearing this, I paid no mind. In the memories of the apocalypse, the city of Tianjin experienced three bizarre events, one of which was the hospital's lockdown. If I'm not mistaken, this must be that very hospital. With excitement coursing through my veins, I charged into the horde of zombies. Quickly dispatching the undead, I activated my special skill, virus absorption. To my surprise, I was able to collect virus points to enhance my power. Then, no zombie would escape my grasp here. Meanwhile, on the fourth floor in the restroom, a group of zombies congregated, drawn by the incessant banging from outside. A man hiding in a stall understood that his time was running out, so he glanced at the head nurse cowering in the corner. At this moment, all he wanted was to be a carefree rogue before his inevitable demise. But just then, the zombies outside abruptly breached the makeshift barricade. To avoid being devoured, the man quickly seized the nurse's wrist, using her as a shield without a second thought. I pushed it aside and leaped straight out the window. Moments later, I had wiped out the threats on the fourth floor, but when I checked the bathroom, I found a nurse lying on the floor. It seemed she had just been infected a few minutes ago. So, I placed my hand on her forehead, deciding to extract the zombie virus from her body. If I could save her, perhaps I would find what I needed before the military sealed off this place. Although I wasn't sure if it would work, the truth was always worth a shot. To my surprise, my actions actually yielded results. The first thing she did when she regained consciousness was to apologize to me. Realizing she was still lucid, I immediately asked her to guide me to the hospital in search of the virus. Quickly, under her guidance, I reached the laboratory and successfully acquired various virus samples. Then, to her astonished gaze, I mixed all the viruses together. As the viruses absorbed and activated, the points I held surged dramatically in that moment. Next, I would use all these virus points to enhance the zombie virus. According to the zombie virus system, there were 4 evolutionary paths in total. Currently, the dark virus provided me with the greatest boost. It not only granted me powerful self-healing capabilities, but it was also the primary virus with the ability to consume and purify. Just as I completed the purification of the virus, the nurse immediately reminded that there was a zombie in the room. But before she could finish her sentence, I had already pulled the zombie up. For these self-sacrificing lab rats, it was truly a perfect opportunity to test my refined abilities as my arm transformed into countless black tentacles. In an instant, the zombie was devoured by me. The sight sent the nurse into a panic, yet when she returned to reality, she earnestly said, "Thank you for saving me. I will keep this secret for you." Upon hearing her words, I extended my hand, introducing myself as Chen Bai. Of course, I also learned that her name was Su Ting. Just then, the sound of gunfire erupted outside the hospital. It seemed the military had begun to seal off the area to prevent anyone from being captured for isolation and investigation. I quickly pulled Su Ting, preparing to escape through the rooftop. But just 2 steps in, we were ambushed by a mutated zombie. The situation unfolded too rapidly, and I was left with several wounds on my arm from its attack. Seeing this zombie, which was clearly different from the others, a smile crept onto my lips. Because as long as I could absorb him, my dark virus might just evolve to a higher level. While I pondered this, the zombies swiftly charged towards us. Luckily, my reflexes were incredibly sharp at that moment. With a single leap, I had reached behind the zombie. As soon as I landed, I seized the opportunity to harness the nearby zombies to bolster my strength. Through the recent battle, I realized that the power of this zombie was nearly on par with mine. Thus, I resolved to wield this newfound strength to bring the fight to an end. To my surprise, its body was as hard as steel. My powerful attack merely left a shallow dent. Naturally, this action only served to ignite its fury. I understood that if I couldn't inflict effective damage, I would surely squander precious time here. At that moment, Su Xing suddenly smashed the fire extinguisher beside him and retrieved a fire axe, calling me to action. With a weapon in hand, I finally broke through the defenses of the mutated zombie. Then, he and I kicked off a fierce speed contest that lasted for 2.5 minutes. At last, in a fleeting moment, I spotted my chance. The axe in my grasp swung down with deadly precision, aiming straight for the head of the mutated zombie. However, Just as I thought the battle was over, the creature suddenly unleashed its power. That unexpected attack pinned me hard against the wall, leaving me in shock. Mutated zombie's intent was clear. It wanted to tear me apart. Yet, instead of fear, I felt an overwhelming thrill surging within me. In the next instant, hundreds of tentacles erupted from my abdomen. No matter how much the zombie howled and thrashed, it was all in vain. In the end, it could only serve as nourishment for my dark virus. When the mutated zombie was completely consumed, my dark virus successfully evolved, granting me the second-tier zombie clapping skill. It seems my choice was indeed not in vain. As long as I keep devouring and evolving, I will draw ever closer to that goal. But before I could think much of it, a large number of soldiers appeared in the corridor. Faced with their threats of shooting if I didn't comply, I immediately scooped Su Xing up and dashed through the hail of bullets. At this moment, ordinary bullets posed no threat to me whatsoever. Before long, I followed Su Xing to his home. As soon as we entered, he offered to help me with my wounds. Even though I told him they had healed, he remained adamant about checking for himself. But when he saw my chiseled abs, his petite face instantly flushed crimson. Leaning in close, I whispered in his ear, "Shouldn't we indulge in something interesting?" The next morning, while I was stepping out to grab breakfast, I unexpectedly received a call from To Ting. She told me that a woman named Tong Tu Kung had been looking for me all night and was now waiting outside my door. Tong Tu Kung was no stranger to me after all. She was a prominent figure in the underworld. But Miss Tong Giai's daughter happens to be one of my admirers. Perhaps it was my overwhelming busyness last night that led me to ignore her messages, prompting this young lady to report me to her mother. However, if Tong Ziquang can track down To Ting's whereabouts, she must have uncovered something important. With this thought in mind, I resolved to meet the woman known as the Queen. After all, she is not only a prominent figure in both worlds, but she also awakened her powers after the apocalypse and swiftly built her own force, uniting the land. A person like her, if won over, would undoubtedly grant me a significant boost in strength before the impending calamity strikes. Not long after, I followed the bodyguard and encountered Tong Ziquang. I immediately got straight to the point, inquiring why she sought me out. Yet, she scrutinized me from head to toe, stating, "I called you here to see what kind of allure one can possess to make my daughter anxious." I responded solemnly, indicating that I wasn't one for beating around the bush. Tong Ziquang realized that continuing the pretense was pointless and spoke plainly. "So, how about becoming one of my people? If you genuinely care for Tong Jai, having you as my son-in-law wouldn't be too bad. I understand she has no reason to summon you, so I've come to ask the real reason." Tong Jiqiang smiled and remarked that anyone who witnessed the fierce display in the hospital would inevitably feel greed stir within them. Hearing this, I couldn't help but be startled. I had destroyed all the electrical equipment in that hospital. How could she possibly know about this? It seemed she could see right through my thoughts. Tong Jiqiang began to explain the reason behind her insight. It turned out that her people had witnessed my battle against the undead. They even recorded the moment when To Ting and I made our retreat. Furthermore, in the survivor list from the hospital, she discovered a colleague who knew To Ting, Liu Feng. Upon hearing that name, my expression turned grave. Just last night, To Ting had mentioned this very person, and Liu Feng not only harbored ill intentions toward her, but had also pushed her into the clutches of the zombies like a mere shield. But now, To Ting belonged to me, and Liu Feng would have to pay for his misdeeds. When I inquired about Liu Feng's whereabouts, Tong Jiqiang replied that I would have to become her subordinate before she would reveal it. At that moment, I could only smile. "Tong, you truly underestimate me. You hardly know who I am. It is you who should be the one to serve me." With that thought, I immediately unleashed the power of the dark virus in its purifying form. Tong Jiqiang, witnessing this transformation, couldn't help but exclaim, "Is this the mutated version of the zombie virus?" Yet, I retaliated. He was even shoved toward the horde of zombies like a mere shield. However, since Su Hong has become mine, Liu Feng must pay dearly for that. When I asked where Liu Feng was, Song Su Hong merely replied that I would only know once I became his subordinate. At that, I could only smirk and say, Auntie Song, you still know too little about me. You should have been the one to become my subordinate. With that, I immediately unleashed the power of the refined shadow virus. Seeing this, Song Tzu-chong exclaimed, "Is that the variant of the zombie virus?" However, my response was, "Once you become mine, you'll find out soon enough." Upon regaining my composure, Song Tzu-chong chuckled and said, "It seems you've underestimated me, my friend Chen. With just that, there's no way to tame me. Besides, you already have a little nurse, why bother with an old hag like me?" To this, I simply lifted his chin and asked, "Auntie Song, do you know Cow Boss? I particularly admire his unique tastes." After saying this, I couldn't help but reveal a few tidbits about the apocalypse. Upon hearing this, Song Tzu-chong immediately showed interest and expressed his willingness to cooperate. However, he demanded valuable information in return. He even added that he was looking forward to meeting the man who would conquer him. Suddenly, a series of gunshots interrupted our conversation. It turned out that the Jiang City Army had reclaimed his frozen stock from last night. It is known that these are the undead being used to sustain the hospital. Now, with the sound of gunfire echoing, something has surely gone wrong. A wave of contemplation washes over me. Although the cold environment may restrict the movement of the undead, such extreme conditions can also increase the likelihood of their mutations. Suddenly, a memory jolts me. One of the three major events from my past life, the explosion on the outskirts, seems to have happened right here. But now that I'm here, I must go and witness the chaos. At this moment, a colossal undead has broken through the soldiers' encirclement in the cold storage. Ordinary thermal weapons are utterly ineffective against it. As the highest commander, Zhao Lian is calling for support from the command center. Song Tu-chong steps forward, ordering everyone to cease fire and retreat, explaining that with your current firepower, not only can you not harm that mountain of flesh, but you will also put your subordinates at risk. As Zhao Lian still intends to hold the undead at bay, Song Tu-chong interjects, "Follow my orders, that monster has already been dealt with." Just then, I see a girl about to be crushed by the creature, but fortunately, I arrive just in time to intercept the undead's attack. Yet, what truly astonished me was the incredible speed at which this zombie was evolving. Just blocking a single blow nearly shattered my arm. It seemed impossible to confront it head-on, so I capitalized on my agility, leaving a trail of wounds across its body. I reveled in the sight of the undead being toyed with in the palm of my hand. Team leader Zhao, astonished, turned to Tong Zikong and asked, "What kind of monster are you raising?" Tong Zikong replied mysteriously, "He's not a monster, he's my partner." Meanwhile, I continued my relentless battle with the zombies, pushing them toward the icy meat locker. Adhering to the principle of not wasting anything valuable, I swiftly unleashed my devouring skill, absorbing the steak chunks. This not only replenished my strength but also amplified my power slightly. Now, perish! I could only hear the thunderous sound as my arm plunged straight into the zombie's skull. Beside me, it swung its arm, attempting to turn me into mush, but I held it tightly under control. The strength of this zombie was being drained, and I sensed that the dark virus was on the verge of evolving once again. Witnessing this bizarre scene, team leader Zhao regarded me as a true anomaly. In his eyes, the best course of action would be to call in air support to eliminate both monsters. However, just as Zhao was about to contact headquarters, Tong Zikong interjected, "I advise against doing anything foolish. It will only bring trouble for everyone." Soon enough, the undead were completely drained of life. It was no surprise that my dark shadow virus had undergone a powerful upgrade, unlocking new abilities like the injection virus and evolving into a formidable hammer form. Yet the greatest reward was still the core of that colossal zombie. You must understand that this rare material could not only be used to craft powerful gear, but also to construct an infinite city of flesh. At that moment, Tong Zixiang called me over and introduced me to the girl we had just rescued. It turned out her name was Lu Li, a renowned journalist and a popular hot girl in Zhangcheng. When I inquired about the person who filmed the video in the hospital, Lu Li confirmed and expressed her gratitude for saving her twice. However, team leader Zhao unexpectedly spoke up. "Mr. Chen Bai from our military district, Commander Huang, hopes he can report the situation to the army." Hearing that name ignited an unnamed fury within me. Because after the trials of my previous life, Huang Shengju had lured a significant number of weak awakened ones, treating them like dogs. I wondered if I had been one of them at that time. Even risking everything wouldn't guarantee a morsel of food. How ridiculous that those who tried to escape were hunted down by him for treason. In the end, I was forced to leave Jiangcheng. It could be said that my joining the Dark Goddess and the Black Hao was all because of him. Thinking about this, I asked Tong Ziquan whether we should report it. Seeing my changing expression, Tong Ziquan immediately reacted, suggesting that he would handle everything. With a proud demeanor, he strode straight to Team Leader Zhao. "You are just a team leader, unworthy of knowing these matters. If there's a problem, let Huang Shengju come to me." With this bold statement, Team Leader Zhao dared not utter another word. Just then, his subordinate rushed in, reporting that someone was causing trouble in the quarantine zone. Hearing this, I asked if there was anyone named Liu Feng among them. Upon receiving confirmation, Liu Feng was quickly brought to the scene. At that moment, he appeared cheerful, thinking that his father, the director, had come to rescue him. However, I simply patted him lightly on the shoulder before injecting the zombie virus into his body. Once I completed the task, I chuckled and said, "Last night, Sushin mentioned in bed that she wanted you to die." As soon as I finished the sentence, I swiftly stepped back and shouted loudly, "Everyone, step back quickly." This man has been infected with the zombie virus for a long time. Liu Feng felt mocked and immediately revealed his true form. In just a moment, the zombie virus erupted, and I shifted into a forceful combat stance. With a powerful punch that carried tremendous force, Liu Feng instantly vanished without a trace. Turning to Tong Ziquan, I remarked, "You did quite well. I can share some information with you later." Upon hearing this, Tong Ziquan hurriedly stepped forward. "I feel that being your partner is not beneficial. If you want me to be on your side, is it still too late?" Upon hearing this, I could only offer a faint smile. "Well, it all depends on how you perform in the future." On our way back, when Song Zi-kun invited me over for dinner, I told him, "Just don't bother me before I get out of the car." After saying that, I began to examine the rewards dropped from the colossal zombie. To my surprise, there were 2 skill books inside. However, considering the Berserk Blood ability, which lasts for 10 minutes, and the sustained strength that lasts for a day, they really weren't worth the trouble. Although the muscle enhancement ability could boost strength and physicality, it came with the downside of being too inflexible. Nevertheless, these skills held great value for establishing power during the early stages of the challenge. The gold coins that dropped totaled 6.5, just enough to set up a chat group. By using this chat group to summon the pioneers in my team, I could quickly lay the groundwork for my own power. Once the group was named Chat Group 001, I would rebuild my Bakde city and turn the Dark Goddess into a dog beneath my feet. Not long after, I arrived at Song Zi-kun's private villa. He had come to understand the so-called apocalypse, a cosmic trial for the survivors of humanity. In response to Song Tu-kun's inquiry about how to become my loyal servant, I offered 2 answers. First, I have no need for the useless, the incapable. Second, I demand loyalty akin to that of a hunting dog to its master. Upon hearing this, Song Tu-kun immediately asserted that he could rise to the challenge, regardless of ability or power. Currently, he stood at the pinnacle of Jiangthan. To this, I merely smirked, informing him that when the trial arrived, everything would obey a new set of rules. As for his current status and power, it merely served to make him and his daughter more enticing as playthings. Beyond that, it held no true value. Upon realizing that he and his daughter would be mere toys, Song Tu-kun initially found amusement in the idea, but then questioned what the difference was between being my servant and being a toy for others. Yet, when I mentioned that I would grant him a stage to unleash his power and a position of leadership unbound by constraints, at that moment, Song Tu-kun cast aside all doubts, even feeling that refusing would mean missing an important opportunity. With that thought, he immediately knelt on one knee, declaring his readiness to be loyal to his master. Witnessing the Queen of Jiangthan submit before me, my heart surged with excitement. Now let me witness your allure. However, there is one task you must complete. Shortly after, Number 2 and Luke Lai received a request to post on major forums, summoning all pioneers and ensuring the post remained prominent. After assigning the task to Song Quinn, he was just about to showcase his charm when his daughter, Song Ka, suddenly called him. Seeing this, I immediately picked up the phone and said, "Your mother is busy with something important. We'll talk later." Although Song Ka questioned why I was answering the call, she quickly criticized me for not responding to her messages. Unexpectedly, the call was cut off just a moment later. This left Song Ka fuming, gritting her teeth as she thought, "This bastard will soon find himself kneeling before me." Meanwhile, facing Song Tuquin's inquiry about whether he could protect his daughter or not, I answered without hesitation, "As long as you put in the effort to charm her, I can guarantee that when heartbreak strikes, she won't turn into a monster." Before long, the next day arrived. After delving into the apocalyptic event, Song Ka was extremely displeased. She believed her mother had been deceived, yet Song Tuquin seriously reassured her to stay calm and observe. Before long, they arrived at an underground gambling den. From Song Ni's words, they learned that he had investigated all the rumors about zombies in Jiang City and ultimately found only about 160 zombies here. After a moment of contemplation, I finally came to the realization that someone was deliberately gathering the undead to trigger one of the 3 major zombie slaughter events. I truly wanted to uncover who dared to orchestrate such a grand scheme. As the doors of the casino swung open, a horde of zombies surged forth. But with a swift kick, I sent Song Ka beside me tumbling. In no time, all the undead present were vanquished. The sheer number of zombies I had dispatched was staggering. The system promptly awarded me the title of Zombie Hunter. At the same time, I could exchange my virus points for the formula of the zombie serum. As a wave of exhilaration washed over me, I had a sudden epiphany. It was crucial to understand that not everyone possessed immunity to the virus. Even those evolved with extraordinary gifts could fall prey to the zombie virus. Now, with the zombie serum in my grasp, it meant I held the key to controlling the lives of the evolved. Without delay, I called upon Song Tuquin to gather everyone into the vault. I had already informed them last night that using melee weapons to dispatch zombies before the trial commenced would significantly reduce the chance of transformation into monsters. Those who could take down zombies barehanded would undoubtedly remain human. As I held a zombie in my grip and asked who would be the first to protect, Song Ni immediately stepped forward, eager to prove herself. I couldn't help but admire her boldness. Song Ni, the formidable guardian of the battlefield queen, dispatched the undead in less than 2 seconds with effortless precision. The second to join the fray was Song Tuquin. With a strike as thunderous as a storm, he brought the zombie crashing down without a hint of hesitation. Meanwhile, Totom managed to take down a zombie as well, but he found himself pinned beneath its weight, his strength far too feeble. Ultimately, it was his familiarity with the creature's anatomy that allowed him to barely finish the kill. When it was Song Ka's turn, she was so paralyzed by fear that she nearly lost control. I could only shake my head in exasperation at this sight. Perhaps the only solution was to have her mother nearby for gradual training. Without hesitation, I called Song Tuquin outside, and before he could utter a word, I instructed him to relay the serum formula to me, explaining that I was extremely busy and he should arrange matters for Song Ka. Upon seeing that this was the viral serum formula, Song Tuquin's face was instantly filled with astonishment. Yet, realizing the formula's significance, his expression shifted to one of concern, and he assured me he would safeguard the formula diligently. On the way back, I pulled out my phone to check the post I had made yesterday, curious if any pioneers had left comments below. To my surprise, most comments denounced the post as absurd, with some even suggesting that the author had escaped from a mental hospital. Just then, a private message caught my attention, and upon reading its contents, I was jolted back to reality. It turns out not everyone is here just for fun. After our conversation, I discovered that the person across from me possesses an Shrank awakening ability in mind control. Without hesitation, I invited him into the chat group. However, what surprised me was that this man, named Han Tiu, brought unexpected good news. Suddenly, a notification popped up he wanted to invite a pioneer named Thui Shuyen into the group. I recognized Thui Shuyen from my past life, known as the Water General, a formidable emperor-level powerhouse. If I could bring him into my team, it would undoubtedly become a significant strength in our quest for revenge. Before long, the afternoon slipped away. Luke Li, who was sent to gather information about the zombies, was reporting his findings. He discovered that a powerful faction in Jiang City was behind this, and the captured zombies were being transported to the port. Just then, out of nowhere, 2 corpses were suddenly hurled towards him. Following that, a man waved at him from the window. The next day in the villa, I was answering questions from the pioneers in the group. But just at that moment, Tong Ziqiang rushed in front of me, stopping abruptly to say that Luke Lai had been captured, and now the enemy demanded he come to negotiate. Being an acquaintance, I immediately stood up and asked him, "Did Luke Li give you up?" Upon hearing this, Tong Ziqiang became anxious, kneeling down to explain that Luke Lai was absolutely not a traitor. The issue surely lay with those he had sent to investigate. In that moment of worry, I've made up my mind to take him back first. At this moment, in the harbor, Hinmeng was threatening Luke Li with all sorts of intimidation, claiming that if Luke Li submitted, he would become his subordinate. If he refused, he would merely be a toy for Hinmeng's amusement. But when Luke Li fiercely resisted, my gentle voice cut through the tension. Forcing a girl like this is utterly disgraceful. As I arrived, Hinmeng's heart swelled with unease. He couldn't fathom where I had come from. Thus he questioned me, "Who are you, really?" I stepped closer to Luke Li and offered him a slice of beef, stating that I was here to take him home. But upon hearing that Tong Tu Chung was waiting for Luke Li outside, Hinmeng realized not only that I was a formidable force, but also that I had subdued the Queen of Jiangthang. With that revelation, Hinmeng rose to his feet. He proclaimed that if I could conquer the Queen of Jiangthang, I must possess an array of cunning strategies. Without hesitation, he poured me a glass of red wine, proposing that if I assisted him in becoming the king of Jiangthang, I would stand beneath one man but above thousands. He simply smiled faintly and replied, "I decline." At first, Hinmeng was taken aback, then confidently explained that his abilities were rated S-class, the highest tier of power. However, I merely clapped my hands and told him that someone like him, "You are not worthy of wielding such tremendous power. Perhaps it's better for you to perish early." With those words, I added with a smirk, "You don't deserve my support, for my ability is at the 3S level." Upon hearing this, Xingmeng said nothing. He immediately armed himself, declaring that his awakening ability was called economic carnage. It allows me to infinitely accumulate the attributes of the targets I eliminate into myself. In his eyes, such a peak ability was merely at the S level. If I was truly at 3S, perhaps I would be hailed as a deity. Just as he finished speaking, he charged at me with a fierce roar. I felt no fear as I unleashed my technique, White Radiant Claw, to counterattack. After the first clash, Xingmeng immediately tore his shirt and activated his carnage frenzy. Witnessing this, I couldn't help but grow cautious. The effects of this skill were still unknown to me. If my opponent was a pure combatant, I could test the strength of my gravity surge state. With a thunderous explosion, the ground fell silent, fissures appearing everywhere. Before long, the battle had erupted from the confines of the warehouse into the open sky, and indeed, Xingmeng was a true combat specialist. In terms of both strength and speed, he far exceeded my current capabilities. Seeing me seemingly worn out, Xingmeng mocked, "Aren't you supposed to have a 3S ability? Pathetic." After hearing this, I could only smile cunningly. My power had been activated from the very beginning. "You just haven't realized it yet." Who would have thought that this move would expose his vulnerability? His clawed hand struck me with a fierce force, sending me flying. Yet, just when Hinmeng believed I was merely pretending, his body suddenly underwent a terrifying transformation. In the next moment, a series of virus intrusion alerts flashed before us. Ultimately, he ended up in a chaotic state, overwhelmed by multiple negative effects. At this point, he was completely bewildered by what was happening. I stepped out from the wreckage and remarked, "Your physique is indeed impressive. You've managed to harbor the virus for so long before it finally took effect." As Hinmeng regained his composure, he immediately went berserk, charging at me. But what awaited him were the lethal stabs from my razor-sharp claws. I had already warned him my ability is at the 3S level. It's a pity he didn't believe me. By the time Hinmeng was completely engulfed by the virus notification system, the initial awakening of Bakwang had successfully completed. The attributes I received surged exponentially, transforming into my fundamental stats. My ability to devour darkness had evolved. Now I could not only view the memories of my target, but also had a certain probability of acquiring their skills. Seeing this, I could hardly contain my excitement and immediately opened my attribute panel. Indeed, each stat had increased by 20 points. It seems that this time I truly hit the jackpot. Afterwards, I began to inspect the spoils from the corpse of my foe. Looking at his equipment attributes, it was clear that he had once slain those mutated undead, otherwise he wouldn't possess data surpassing mine. Unfortunately, all these beautiful things now belong to me. So, what I must do next is prepare everything thoroughly for the upcoming final days of the challenge. Time swiftly passed to the night before the trial, and Chong brought news that the mission he was assigned had been completed smoothly. Upon hearing this, I picked up my phone and began drafting a message to inform everyone in the group that in just 10 minutes, the moment of the trial would arrive. At the same time, I reminded them of the dangers that lay ahead. Moments later, the pioneers in our group were already prepared, poised to embrace the impending moment as seconds ticked away. I, Chen Sheng, declared, "Come here and see Igor." In just 10 seconds, this tranquil scene will become nothing but a memory. Upon hearing my words, Songka trembled uncontrollably, while the others held their breath in anticipation. As I counted down to the final second, the trial of the apocalypse officially began. Suddenly, a massive crack appeared in the sky. At that moment, I gazed out the window, witnessing the transformation outside. Based on the memories of my past life, the survivors would evolve into entirely new beings. They can rely on their awakened innate abilities to hunt corresponding monsters to elevate their ranks. Of course, other races will also join this life or death battle. Suddenly, the system notification cut through my thoughts, displaying a message that the hourglass timer had been completed and the master was beginning to synchronize. Since I couldn't let anyone know about my reincarnation, I ordered Chiang and the others to leave the room. However, I discovered that everyone inside was frozen in place. Even the airplane tumbling outside the window was suspended mid-air. At that moment, I realized that time seemed to be halted by some mysterious force. Soon after, the hourglass radiated a blinding light, and the system interface appeared before me. Looking at the active skills, I understood that I had truly been resurrected through this hourglass. However, upon seeing the skill for maintaining status and reading status, I couldn't help but feel exhilarated. Who would have thought that such a powerful, life-preserving skill had only a cooldown of 1 hour? Just as the synchronization was completed, time finally returned to normal. Facing Chiang's inquiry about whether I had anything to delegate, I swiftly changed the subject and urged them to quickly check the safety of the villa, informing everyone that at dawn we must clear out the zombies in the estate. Everyone immediately agreed. Soon, the next morning, a horde of zombies gathered around the mansion. Seeing this, Kong Twin wasted no time activating the Purple Sky Guardian and charged forward. This ability not only allowed him to see through the properties and weaknesses of his targets, but also transformed objects into purple crystals, enhancing both attack and defense capabilities. In an instant, the zombies in front of him were swiftly eliminated. Meanwhile, Song Second was also ready for battle. He awakened his unique ability, known as the Dao Child, a protector by the side of the Queen of Jiang City, combined with a renowned assassination talent that boasted incredible speed. Within moments, he had efficiently dispatched the zombies present. Meanwhile, in the mansion's grand hall, due to Tu Tin's awakening of the B-grade ability called Recovery Speed, the task of healing the injured fell into his capable hands. Everything unfolded smoothly until night fell. According to reports from Luke Li, everything was currently under control. Hearing this, I smiled and told him that there were more important matters to attend to and that they could manage the subsequent tasks themselves. With that said, I shot off like a bullet. Even after being resurrected, I still remembered that first day when the epidemic broke out. I had seen that symbol at Jiang City University. It wasn't until 2.5 years later that I understood its true meaning. Now, regret was no longer an option this time. I was determined to take action.
I must seize this opportunity to get to Jiangthan University and destroy the undead inside. I did see the symbol that countless evolutionists yearn for. I can't wait any longer. Immediately jump under that symbol. But we haven't gone deeper yet. A voice suddenly interrupted. Please stop on the lever. Are you interested in a transaction? In response to his words, I said immediately, I am delighted to trade with you. It's really what I wanted. But that person just laughed coldly. Why do you show such joy when dealing with me? I just shrugged my shoulders and said, I came here just to find your symbol. So you're the trading god Raider, right? Rado immediately gave a green card. He said this is a card. And tell with this card, I can get a 20 discount when buying things in his mercantile society. I can't help but be glad to see this. Because in a life before I met him, he didn't give anything to I anymore. The opposite of radio. I received the card. Immediately introduced the traded items. It's a specialized coil that controls the power, lightning, and a sniper rifle called the Dead Spot. I feel the difference in my heart. Did not expect that. Career role of Thunderwalker. Previous life is from Raiders Mercantile Society.
However, when I think about the price tag of 5 million gold, I have to admit honestly that I currently lack the funds to purchase these items. Upon hearing this, Rado promptly closed the transaction, suggesting that I could come back once I had accumulated enough wealth. But just as Rado was about to leave, I told him that even though I couldn't afford his goods, I understood his true intention was to invest. Hearing this, Rado chuckled and replied, Kid, you know quite a lot, don't you? Are you asking me to invest in you? I straightforwardly explained that he possessed a priceless treasure from the gods. If he could invest that artifact into me, I was certain it would yield enormous profits. Rado, not rushing into anything, asked back, on what basis do you think you can deliver returns that surpass the value of that treasure? However, upon seeing my 3S talent, although Rado showed interest, he wasn't ready to invest that artifact just yet. Nevertheless, due to my rare talent, he decided to give me a chance. That chance was for me to prove my worth through strength and personal growth. As soon as his words left his lips, Rado assigned me a mission called the Ultimate Investment. I knew that my opportunity had finally arrived, because once I completed this task, the artifact entrusted by the Divine would be invested in my hands. Then, Leda tossed me a coin, saying that upon completing the mission, I could summon him with this coin. Holding the coin, I asked him if he could show me that artifact first. Leda had satisfied my curiosity from the information board. I discovered that the object was a specialized 3S scroll, allowing its user to wield 2 professions simultaneously. Both the bonus attributes and skills from these professions could be activated at the same time. Just as my transaction with the trading deity Leda came to an end, I could hardly contain my excitement and immediately opened the quest board for Ultimate Investment. However, upon seeing the quest details, I found myself lost in contemplation. Even with memories from my past life, I had never heard of any secret techniques appearing at Jiangcheng University. Yet, once a quest was accepted, I had to seize this opportunity. Meanwhile, in the arena of Jiangcheng University, a young man in a white shirt was forcefully slammed to the ground. Beside him, a muscular man named Tom continued to beat him mercilessly, commanding everyone to kneel and submit as his slaves. Those who disobeyed would meet a grim fate. Despite being battered and bruised, the others bravely retorted with a defiant challenge, "Dream on, pig." Hearing this, a surge of rage ignited within Tom, who declared that no one here could escape his grasp. A girl who knew him attempted to intervene. Tom, don't go too far, but with a swift slap, he sent her flying. Suddenly, the arena doors burst open with tremendous force. Before I could comprehend the situation, I heard my own gentle voice echo. Was it you who attacked these students? West. The moment Tom responded with, "What if?" I vanished from my previous spot. In the blink of an eye, I appeared right beside him. Since you've admitted it, you must face the consequences. Just then, another person charged at me, fists raised and shouting, but I caught a glimpse of the fear in the girl's eyes. I slowly opened my mouth to ask, "Is there anyone here studying medicine? I need a familiar face from the medical department to help me find something." All I got in return were snickers and jokes. Then someone pointed toward the foreign girl lying on the ground. They insisted she was the only medical student here. Seeing my intense gaze, the girl quickly clarified. She didn't lay a hand on anyone. Even though she's white, she carries the heart of a yellow-skinned person, emphasizing that it was indeed a very golden heart. At that, everyone couldn't help but laugh. Fortunately, a girl stepped up to defend her, stating that she had tried to dissuade both foreigners from fighting. After understanding the whole situation, I decided to keep this girl around. The others could leave right now and would be directed to the eastern villa of the city for safety. Just mentioning the name Chen Bai would ensure someone would come to pick them up. Upon hearing this, everyone wore an inscrutable expression. It's essential to know that outside, the streets were crawling with zombies. Leaving the school almost meant certain death. However, when I told them that if they didn't face the zombies now, once those monsters evolved on a large scale, there would only be a path to death, everyone was shocked by this news. Yet, they still asked me to show them the way out and express their gratitude. Once everyone had left, the girl approached me immediately, asking if I could join them and why I had abandoned her. Seeing my silence, she suddenly hatched a bold idea. She spoke up. "I know, students from Longquok love beautiful foreign girls. That's why you left me behind, right? As long as you don't resort to violence against me, I'm willing to be your pack horse." I simply smiled in response. "You've misunderstood. I'm not interested in girls who have hundreds of people riding them. Didn't you say you needed someone to scavenge?" The girl lowered her head in embarrassment upon hearing my words. "I'm sorry. I was too scared back then to hear what you said. But you can't say I've been ridden. I've clearly never been ridden by anyone. If you don't believe me, I can prove it to you." I responded with a chuckle, saying, "All right then." After 5 seconds of facing her complaint about whether we could take a break before heading to the medical facility, I told her that we could rest once we got there. It wouldn't be too late. Before long, we reached the research building of the medical facility. From her, I learned that there were plenty of bacterial and viral samples on the 3rd floor, and in the basement, there was a special incinerator. Yet, as I gazed upon the vibrant array of viruses in the laboratory, a smile involuntarily crept across my lips. Though most of them were merely influenza viruses for testing purposes, the potential they offered was undeniably promising. But at that very moment, the system interface suddenly flashed a notification stating that the influenza virus could be upgraded into a new skill. Without hesitation, I initiated the upgrade and opened the attributes panel, only to find it revealed that this skill could significantly reduce all attributes of the target. It would inflict negative statuses as well. A mere sneeze could disrupt any concentrated spells and targeting skills. Witnessing this, a wave of excitement washed over me. With such a capability in battle, it would truly be exhilarating. Before, I had never paid much attention to the viruses in a practical sense. Clearly, I would need to give serious consideration to upgrades in this aspect moving forward. However, contemplating the mission issued by the Divine Education, which was undoubtedly not a simple task, I decided to utilize the remaining virus points to enhance my own power. Before long, 2 new passive skills had been successfully unlocked. Among them, the Direction Mastery skill greatly improved my spatial awareness and sense of balance. Meanwhile, the Combat Focus skill enhanced my dynamic vision and reflexes, effectively doubling my control over every muscle in my body. I immediately began to test my newfound muscular strength. As I slowly reached out to touch the wall, a thunderous boom echoed as the entire wall instantly cracked and splintered. The sight left the girl in shock, thinking to herself, "Thank goodness he didn't use that vibrating power earlier. If not, I might die without ever knowing why." But I, who understood the principle of this skill, could only smile. Even the lightest touch could turn ordinary attacks into lethal blows. Back in the present, while I was curious about why the girl was blushing, I still asked her to lead me to the crematory to uncover the truth. As the door to the furnace room swung open, it confirmed my suspicions. This was indeed the quest issued by the transaction god, the gateway to the secret realm. The moment I stepped into the secret realm, the system interface immediately flashed with a notification. Special dungeon. The furnace has been opened. Noticing the monsters within gradually awakening, I activated my combat stance, ready for anything. In the next moment, the corpses beneath the white cloth suddenly rose to their feet. At that instant, I was already prepared for battle. Facing the zombie charging towards me, I raised my hand and sent one of them straight to the underworld. But quickly, I noticed another zombie above me, seemingly gathering a type of skill. Then, a wave of special energy cascaded down. To this, I simply smiled derisively. It must be known that what sorcerers fear most is chanting too long before casting their spells. So, prepare to meet your end. With a thunderous crash, my heavy fist came crashing down upon the undead, accompanied by the system's announcement before. You have earned 1,000 experience points. I couldn't help but marvel at this. Truly, this was a special quest. Even a single foe could yield such a bounty of experience. With that thought, I refocused my gaze on the remaining zombies littering the room. Come forth, I hope you'll surprise me with even more. With determination, I activated Hunting Moment. In less than 2.5 minutes, all the undead present were swiftly obliterated. Naturally, this surge in my power propelled me straight to level 4. Next up was a zombie boss lurking within the furnace. With a thunderous explosion, an ugly undead creature emerged from the flames. A sense of foreboding washed over me as I sensed a hint of danger emanating from it. My mind raced with a single thought. I had to eliminate it quickly before it completed its transformation. However, to my dismay, my attack was effortlessly blocked by its newly cleansed arm. Realizing this, I immediately activated the skill Evolutive Contagion, but the system informed me that the skill was ineffective against the target. Almost simultaneously, the zombie's fist struck me hard, sending me crashing to the ground. As I lay amidst the rubble, I found myself not terrified, but rather sneering in defiance. You see, since my reincarnation, I had yet to encounter anyone who could force me to fight at full throttle. Therefore, this creature was indeed the perfect test subject. Indeed, after several bouts, I was thrilled to discover that this undead creature was not only powerful, but also possessed a remarkable ability to regenerate quickly. However, what I feared the most were the endurance challenges ahead. With that thought in mind, I wasted no time activating the status reader skill, eager to uncover if it truly was immortal. After 2.5 hours of relentless combat, I taunted with a mocking tone, "Why is your regeneration so sluggish? Have you already exhausted yourself?" Soon, my gentle taunts echoed throughout the room. "Hurry up, I'm waiting, and even the flowers have wilted." After 5 minutes, the chemical creature had completely lost its regenerative capabilities, and I wore a satisfied smile. What a relief! But perhaps it was also time to end this. Just as the words left my lips, I crushed the chemical creature beneath my foot when a series of system notifications materialized before my eyes, my gaze sparkling with the experience rewards for vanquishing the creature, even as the incinerator had ceased to function. It had transformed into a permanent replica, which could even be uploaded as a pay-to-view walkthrough tutorial. Witnessing this scene, I immediately clicked the upload button and set the system to conceal my appearance. Meanwhile, inside the Dongsan villa, Tohan was assisting Tongzi-kun in regaining his strength. However, it wasn't long before Tongzi-kong seemed to discover something. A notification suddenly popped up in the chat group, announcing that the Evolver Bai had released a video showcasing the clearance of the Nightmare Realm. Although it required spending a coin to view, both Tongzi-kong and the other Evolvers in the group instantly opted pay and watch. As he watched the video, his eyes widened in astonishment. With his own strength, he had to slow down just to catch a glimpse of the images on the screen. The other Evolvers also gained a newfound understanding of the leader's power, leading to an immediate and lively discussion within the group. Meanwhile, I had completed the absorption of the biotransformation beast, earning myself 300 points in Dark Virus. This special purification point could only be used to cleanse the dark virus, but at this moment, it was truly an invaluable asset for me. Instantly, the system notified me that the dark virus had been purified, not only boosting my life recovery speed by 300, but also activating the passive ability, Cell Rebirth. From the description, I understood that this skill could expend a bit of stamina to harness energy for a short period, ultimately achieving regeneration. Witnessing this, a sudden realization struck me. With this ability, I would no longer need to fear injuries in future battles. Thus, it was time to assess the rewards dropped from defeating the biotransformation beast. The first item was a specialized scroll for biotransformation creatures. According to the information from its effect system, it can absorb other beings to enhance its own power. However, if it absorbs too much, it may lead to genetic breakdown or mutation. As for the special item known as the Faceless One's Skin, even after glancing through the information board about this item, I still couldn't clearly discern the specific effects of the Faceless One's skin. With this thought, I shifted my gaze to the loot dropped from the small monsters I had defeated. Besides some ordinary hides that could be used for inner armor, there was also a skill book titled Cell Activation Level Earth. While it could enhance self-rescue abilities for a short time, it held no value for me given my own cell regeneration ability. However, the thought of possibly using it for trade in the chat group made me smile involuntarily. Now, all I need to do is hand over a part of the biomorphic organism's body to Luoduo to complete this mission. Yet, just as I prepared to leave the secret realm, it struck me that this might not be as simple as it seems. It's important to remember that Luoduo is not just a random merchant in this game. He must have come here with another purpose. After all, when he left, he mentioned, "Today has truly yielded a lot. I hope you can complete my challenge." Considering these factors, it's very likely that his initial goal was indeed this special gift. And currently, the value of the loot dropped from this secret realm is insufficient to entice a divine avatar to come down personally. In other words, within this hidden realm, there exists a place I had overlooked. With that thought racing through my mind, I plunged into the furnace, for in this entire secret domain, this was the only spot I had yet to set foot upon. The truth unfolded just as I had suspected. Not long after, I stumbled upon a peculiar game within the furnace. However, after a thorough exploration, I realized that the conduit was merely a dead end. Doubt filled my heart as I instinctively tapped gently against the wall beside me. Suddenly, a golden mask materialized from the wall. Without a second thought, I struck it with a punch. But to my astonishment, the mask emitted a strange, eerie light at that very moment. Then, a notification from the system appeared, revealing that the mask was the principal element fueling the will within the furnace. Even the cosmic will could not decipher its effects, and the very name of the item bore an air of mystery. Witnessing this, a hypothesis swiftly took shape in my mind. This could very well be a fragment of a 3S tier artifact or one of the divine-related items. In other words, the mask was the true objective that Lord Thunder sought here. Such a valuable item must be mine. I had to find a way to claim it for myself. Just stepping out of the fiery realm, the Western girl immediately burst into excitement, calling me Little Bai. "Your video was truly outstanding. I have to give you a like." Upon hearing the word video, I couldn't help but fall into deep thought. According to the memories of my past life, a treasure trove shielded by the will of the universe could conceal everything from prying eyes. Truly the best way to hide items without detection. Before long, the two of us emerged from the school gates. Facing the Western girl, I inquired whether they were on their way to the Dongshan villa. I warned them that nighttime brought many dangers, and we needed to find shelter nearby. Upon hearing this, he immediately suggested heading to a hotel close to the school. He explained that the hotels were situated on higher floors, thus avoiding any potential dangers. Soon enough, we arrived at a couple's hotel, where the Western girl, dressed in a nurse's outfit, chimed in, "I thought you chose this hotel just to see this." I gave a sly smile and replied, "Well, I did want to see, but I'm not fond of your current outfit." Even after she changed into 3 different outfits, my feedback remained the same. She just didn't look captivating enough until she donned a delicate, slender dress. At that moment, I nodded in satisfaction. Tonight, you will be my little pet. The next morning, along with a mask that had been stored away safely, I finally tucked it away securely. Without hesitation, I tossed out the coin that Lei Duo had given me before we left. As I gazed upon the manifestation of the trading god's formation before me, a subtle smile tugged at my lips. Everything seemed to take on a newfound excitement. In my previous life, a saying echoed through the realms. Emotions were one of the currencies in transactions with Lei Duo. If one could showcase enough value in his eyes, he would adjust the rewards of the mission to cater to the feelings of those participating in the trade or quest. In an instant, Lei Duo materialized, inquiring, "I never expected you to summon me so swiftly. Has your task already been completed?" Upon hearing this, I casually tossed a portion of the mutated creature's body towards him. As the desiccated chunk rolled to a stop at Lei Duo's feet, he looked astonished, remarking that the bizarre creature had perished long ago. He challenged me, questioning why I had completed the task since last night without summoning him immediately. I feigned ignorance, replying that I always held him in high regard, but it seemed he had concealed the true difficulty of this mission. Without a modicum of my own talent, I surely would have perished in that nightmare long ago. Upon hearing this, Lei Duo explained that this was part of the challenge. After all, he couldn't entrust high-tier items to someone unprepared for the unexpected. Fortunately, recognizing his oversight, Lei Duo allowed me to choose my mission reward this time, bypassing unnecessary steps and swiftly advancing towards the ultimate goal. I immediately praised him warmly. Soon after, Lei Duo snapped his fingers, granting me the privilege to choose any item of the highest B-grade quality as my reward. When I selected the design for the scroll, Lei Duo remarked, "You truly have an eye for detail." He swiftly handed me the final mission. Yet, as I gazed at the mission board, I found myself frozen in disbelief. The reward for this task was 2 S3 grade professional scrolls. Not to mention the difficulty of this mission, even deities are not guaranteed to possess S3 grade professions. With a cunning smile, Lei Duo claimed that this was his finest treasure, meant only for those with the skill worthy of wielding it. Before long, a massive mutated rat emerged in the Dongsan Villa area. In mere moments, it had annihilated 2 cannibalistic teams. Meanwhile, those like Songtu Kung, hiding amidst the rubble due to their low levels, could do nothing against this monstrous creature. As Songtu Kung directed the injured to retreat, Doi Tu suddenly sensed something amiss. Very next instant, the giant mutated rat charged straight at them. Fortunately, Doi Tu managed to push Songtu Kung down just in time, averting disaster. But before either of them could regain their composure, the mutated rat lunged at them again, a sharp sound slicing through the air. With a powerful kick, I sent it flying to the ground. Witnessing this spectacle, Songtu Kung couldn't help but feel a surge of joy, while I commanded Doi Tu to clear the battlefield and compensate those who had sacrificed. Meanwhile, Songtu Kung remained behind to explain the situation. Not long after, I learned from Luk Li's report that a swarm of mutated rats had unexpectedly appeared around the villa. This incident had resulted in nearly 100 casualties. Seeing that everyone had been exhausted in recent days, I ordered them to rest first while I would handle the cleanup around the villa and investigate the source. Noticing this, Songtu Kung stepped forward and said, "Master, if we all take a break, there will be no one left to serve you. Therefore, I would like to introduce someone to you." As the door swung open, Songtu Kung introduced, "This is Tunling Ngok, who has been an intern lawyer for 2.5 years. He wishes to become your subordinate and support you in establishing the rules." I waved my hand, allowing the others to take their leave. Tunling Ngok then spoke up, "Master, what do you need me to do? Just give me the orders." Hearing this, I lifted his chin and asked, "I've heard your field has excellent communication skills. Let me experience that a bit, shall we?" Upon hearing my words, Tunling Ngok's petite face immediately flushed bright red. "All right, master," he said, and he did not disappoint me. After that, I called him over by the window, intending to remind him of the necessary rules for the villa. However, to my surprise, he leaned directly against the window and said, "Master, please take your time to savor this moment." I, too, found myself puzzled, questioning why he assumed such an odd posture. As reality settled in, Tan Lingyu, blushing with embarrassment, explained that it was due to his level ability, which heightened his focus. In this activated state, his cognitive abilities and sensitivity would be significantly amplified. However, the downside was that it would automatically shield him from external information. Understanding this, I could only add that my purpose in calling him here was to help establish suitable rules for each distinct area. From this vantage point, one could see the entire 3 zones of Dongsan: the luxurious villa area perched on the hillside, the upscale residential zone in the middle, and the ordinary housing at the foot of the mountain. As Tan Lingyu elaborated on these details and inquired if I had any further requests, I couldn't help but express my intrigue. I was genuinely curious about his abilities. Seizing the moment, I suggested it was a perfect opportunity to test his focused working state. Upon hearing this, Tan Lingyu looked momentarily flustered before leaning against the window to respond, "Master, I'm ready." Before long, the dawn of the next day arrived. By monitoring the colossal mutated rats, I guided everyone to the drainage exit of the underground sewage system in Dongsan. While I could easily handle everything here, my intention in summoning Song Tzu Cheong and the others was to rapidly train them into warriors capable of safeguarding the villa area. "Listen up, everyone. Are you all ready to level up?" The crowd roared in unison. "We are ready, Master." Hearing a group of men address me as Master made me shift uncomfortably, I quickly requested everyone to call me by my name from now on. As I forcefully pulled open the iron door at the drainage exit, a system notification appeared, announcing a special mission for all inhabitants of the sewers. Not just me, but everyone present received the same alert. The mission details required us to eliminate all mutated giant rats and investigate the source of their mutations. As our group entered the depths of the sewer, we heard the chaotic sound of footsteps around the bend ahead. In an instant, a horde of grotesquely mutated rats surged towards us. Witnessing this scene, I resolved to activate battle mode. However, at this moment, these monsters posed no threat to me whatsoever. Before long, with the combined efforts of everyone, the battle swiftly approached its conclusion, without a doubt. According to Song Tzu Cheong's report, we had cleared out a dozen pipes of varying lengths. Surely it wouldn't be long before we reached our destination. Just then, one of the henchmen shouted loudly that there seemed to be another one ahead. I glanced at Song Tzu Cheong, who was preparing to engage. I had reminded him not to forget to use the exploration skill. As the knowledge crystal activated, Song Tzu Kyo was instantly drenched in cold sweat. What lay before him was none other than the mutated boss rat. Clearly, with his current strength, he was no more than a fly before this formidable foe. As I dashed out in a panic, Song Tzu Kyo instinctively warned, "Bakdae, be careful of that monster. It's incredibly powerful." However, in an instant, he realized his worry was completely unfounded. With just a single punch, I sent that mutated king rat straight to meet Yama, the god of death. What delighted me was that after defeating the boss, I received a level 1 piece of equipment. While its quality wasn't exceptional, its effects far surpassed those of ordinary gear. So what's next? I just needed to investigate the origins of this special mission, and it would be completed soon. But when our group reached the deepest part of the conduit, I halted everyone's progress. The system continuously displayed notifications about virus absorption, and this was a matter of utmost concern. The virus we encountered in the previous battle was quite common, but the types appearing now were ones I had never encountered even in my past life. Moreover, each step we took accelerated the virus spread alarmingly. Thinking of this, I issued a command. I instructed Song Tzu Kyo to lead everyone to retreat while I ventured deeper alone to uncover the truth. After navigating through several twists and turns in the drainage system, I finally discovered the ultimate objective of my mission, a long-decayed corpse lying in wait. Through my observations, the environment surrounding this corpse is indeed the source of the mutation. However, the place with the most potent virus isn't the corpse itself, but rather the scroll in another's hand. Realizing this, I decided to seize the scroll. Although I had never heard of the organization mentioned within it, my curiosity compelled me forward. Yet, the thought of the viruses within potentially amplifying my strength ignited a fierce determination within me. Without hesitation, I activated my virus absorption skill. To my astonishment, in mere moments, my arm began to transform wildly. Even the surrounding viruses swiftly converged towards me. In an instant, a bizarre form began to manifest in my palm. Fortunately, this unusual state didn't last long. As I pondered the cause of this phenomenon, suddenly, a notification from the system appeared, announcing the activation of the 3S mission titled the Plague Sect. The mark in my hand is known as the Plague Seal, signifying my status as a core member of that sect, allowing me to sense similar seals in the vicinity. From the mission briefing, I understood that anyone who possesses the plague mark will have the potential to become a true deity as foretold. However, the prerequisite is to find the messenger among the members of the plague cult. Witnessing this scene fills me with joy, for if I can complete this 3S mission, not only will I ascend to become the god of plague, but I will also gain the power to confront the Mother of Shadows head-on. As the system announces the completion of the task, a portal unexpectedly materializes before me. Upon touching it, I can clearly sense that on the other side lies a hell-level parasitic mission. The only issue is that, with my current strength, I am not yet capable of overcoming the challenges at this level. Fortunately, this side mission extends for a month, granting me ample time for preparation. Meanwhile, I overhear Song Tukyo announcing that the Dongsan dungeon has opened with normal difficulty, allowing entry 3 times a day. I immediately rush to participate. It's wonderful. This dungeon is perfect for honing your skills. As the Queen of Jiang City, she has just dispatched messengers to gather everyone for group training. Once everyone has gathered, I instruct them to split into groups of 8 to enter the dungeon, emphasizing the importance of safety. After ensuring everything is set, I turn to the 3 people beside me and say, "In a moment, you all will join me in the dungeon. But before you can take action, I won't lift a finger." Seeing everyone respond in unison, I continued, "If you're ready, gather together, then join this chat group." As I glanced at the notification inviting me to join the chat from player 001, Song Tu-Q couldn't help but exclaim. He could hardly fathom that his master was the first player in the world. Witnessing his astonishment, I could only sigh. That's just the ranking of the evolved. No need to be so amazed. Yet, just as the words left my lips, Song Ka suddenly approached, asking, "Chen Bai, why didn't I receive the invitation to join the chat group?" I merely chuckled, saying, "In my harem group, everyone has their own abilities. A little girl scared stiff by a zombie won't be getting any invites." The memory of that embarrassing scene flashed through my mind. Without hesitation, Song Ka retorted, "Don't underestimate others. I've grown up now." Hearing this, I said no more, but summoned my gear. "If you say you've grown, then choose a piece of equipment to prove it to me." Soon after, within the sewer dungeon, after enduring for a long time, Song Ka had completely transformed. He was no longer the timid figure he once was. He was ready for battle, even refusing the support of Schwanger, determined to tackle the mutated technology issue here on his own. Seeing this, I turned to ask Luli about Song Ka's talent. It turned out Luli's talent was called Illusory Image, a B-grade ability. It possesses the ability to conjure formless illusions born from imagination. Meanwhile, Song Ka's talent is rated C, but her superior intelligence enhances her experience and skills by up to 50. This leads me to draw a conclusion that, although Song Ka's talent grows swiftly, it has yet to manifest in combat. Not long after, she single-handedly sliced through numerous colossal monsters. I stood up and declared that with her determination to join my harem, I would grant her this wish, just this once. Upon hearing this, Song Ka immediately turned away, exclaiming, "Who wants to join your harem anyway? I only want to prove myself." Just then, Song Tu-Chung stepped in to support his daughter, saying, "In fact, he really does want to join. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been furious this morning when he found out that the person I introduced was Tun Ling Ngok instead of him." I approached Song Ka and said, "Look at your mother's face. Stop pretending to be a lady. Quickly accept the invitation." Thus, Song Ka finally got her wish and joined what is called the harem group. Later, when I asked Song Tu-Cheong why he allowed his daughter to be like that, he unexpectedly exclaimed, "Having a father like you is a wonderful blessing for her." With a 3S ability, her hidden skills are on par with the Virus King. yet its master is merely a pink-haired girl. She even actively sought me out to learn combat skills. It was surprising that after Song Ka joined the chat group, I placed the recent trophies on the table. Next, I informed Song Tzu Cheong that during the quest, everyone would receive various low-level equipment. Her task was to quickly establish an economy for the base and set up different rules for trading the gear as soon as I sent the video of overcoming the underground dungeon to the group. Seeing the zombie core in Song Tzu Cheong's hand, I couldn't help but exclaim that using it to build sturdy walls would create a formidable deterrent. Furthermore, the blueprint for crafting the scroll about the city would soon make our base the unrivaled dominion of Jiang City. However, when Song Tzu Cheong discovered that the secret equipment could enhance her appearance, her yearning became evident. Noticing this, I chuckled and asked, "Do you think this is less important than the previous two?" Song Tzu Cheong immediately stepped closer, saying, "Master, you are the most important thing. I just think this item could help you feel more relaxed." Hearing this, my curiosity deepened, and I expressed my ignorance about women's clothing, wondering if it would bring any unexpected surprises. Song Tzu Cheong replied, "There will definitely be surprises. I told the little brother to officially come and meet you, this parent." At that moment, I was about to experience the surprises that Song Tzu Cheong had in store for me at a luxurious hotel. Liu Huai, one of the first members to join the evolution group, had achieved his current life thanks to my suggestions. Suddenly, his eyes widened in astonishment as he spotted the new level-up video on the control panel. Although it required 10 coins to watch just once, he didn't hesitate to hit confirm. Upon noticing several women in the lineup, he couldn't help but exclaim, "Why are there so many women in the squad?" Yet, as he contemplated their ability to handle adversity under the guidance of the squad leader, he felt an overwhelming urge to rush to Jiang City to experience the squad leader's meticulous training firsthand. Meanwhile, the other evolutionaries in the group were also watching this video, but they believed that even if these girls possessed impressive talents, they would still need the squad leader's assistance to overcome the final monster. After gently placing the peacefully sleeping Song Ka onto the bed, I resolved to delve deeper into the sewers to hunt for equipment. For as long as I could gather the missing pieces of the plague set, my power would soar to new heights. Just as I was about to leave, the system suddenly chimed in with a notification that a team member, Meng Meng, was sending me a private message. From her text, I realized she sought my guidance regarding combat knowledge. Remembering that everyone in the group were pioneers, I suspected they possessed significant talent. I promptly requested her to share information about her abilities, as only then could I devise an appropriate strategy. However, when I laid eyes on her talent information, I was momentarily taken aback. Her ability was none other than Dreamlord, ranked 3S. I noticed a member of the Dream Team was messaging me privately. From the messages he sent, it was clear that he sought my guidance in combat knowledge. Remembering that this group consisted of pioneers, I figured he must possess considerable talent, so I decided to ask him to share details about his abilities. After all, only with this information could I devise a reasonable solution. However, upon seeing his talent profile, I was completely taken aback. His talent was none other than Dream Master, rated at an astonishing 3S level. He then explained to me that one of his abilities, dream weaving, not only allowed him to transport people into a dream world that felt strikingly real, but he could also peer into the dreams of others. Remarkably, he could even bring items from the dream realm into reality. As for dream manipulation, it had the power to adjust everything within a dream. However, at present, the extent of his control remained quite limited. Regarding dream summoning, he could create dream symbols to invite others into his dream world. After some analysis, I concluded that as long as his physical form remained undiscovered, he would maintain an invincible state. At that moment, the Dream Team sent me an invitation, expressing a desire for me to enter his dream world to guide him in battle. Without hesitation, I declined. It was important to understand that my safety in that dream realm was far from guaranteed. He boldly proposed to sign an evolution contract with me. Recalling that the contract required a payment of 10 gold coins, I couldn't help but curiously ask, if you have the capability to earn 10 gold coins, why do you still need me to teach you combat skills? Meng Meng gritted his teeth and revealed his reason. It turned out he had a strong feeling that if he didn't enhance his combat power in time, he would undoubtedly perish in this apocalyptic world. As he explained that he could eliminate monsters in his dreams to earn resources and even adjust the drop rates of items within those dreams, I couldn't help but gasp in surprise. One must understand that this bizarre ability was nearly on par with the power of the Virus King. However, it was unfortunate that his ability couldn't improve his physicality, which would become a critical weakness for an evolved being. With this in mind, I agreed to his request. After all, such a powerful entity must be utilized for my own purposes. Soon I found myself lying on the bed, waiting for sleep to take me. As my consciousness began to fade away, I suddenly realized I was in a strange room. In front of me, a cute little girl introduced herself. "Hello, group leader. I am Meng Meng, the one who just signed a contract with you." I carefully observed my surroundings and drew my conclusions, that this place is not suitable for combat training. Meng Meng was prepared, ready to inform that he had cleared out a nearby arena, the true sanctuary for honing our skills. As soon as his words faded, a shimmering teleportation gate materialized before us. Upon glimpsing the outside world, which unfolded as a sprawling cityscape, I couldn't help but stand in awe. After all, this ability surpassed the bounds of ordinary transformation. Observing my astonishment, Meng Meng explained that the dream realm is a self-contained entity. He was merely a traveler navigating through its depths. His recent discoveries revealed that these two worlds reflect each other in a remarkable interplay. Thus, guided by Meng Meng, we set off toward the arena to commence our training. Upon arriving at a dimly lit location, I watched as Meng Meng confidently clapped his hands and declared, "Miss, we have arrived." Instantly, the entire area was illuminated. However, to rapidly enhance his combat prowess in the real world, Meng Meng was compelled to relinquish his powers within the dream realm. Therefore, I requested him to launch an attack to gauge his current fighting level. Upon hearing this, Meng Meng reminded me to be cautious, as his mental strength had soared to an impressive 48 points. Once I gave him the signal, Meng Meng unleashed a punch brimming with power, yet all I had to do was gracefully sidestep. It's easy to dodge his punch. I can tell he's off balance and struggling to control his power. Meng Meng immediately unleashed a series of renowned combo strikes. Once again, as I evaded, I couldn't help but chuckle and say, "Isn't that the entry-level punch number 8? Although his performance was indeed a bit awkward, I meticulously pointed out the essentials of combat. First, one must control their center of gravity to deliver punches harmoniously. Second, it's crucial to identify the target, locate the enemy, and execute an effective attack. Finally, it's about observing each of your opponent's movements. You can't just mindlessly attack." Realizing his shortcomings, he instinctively apologized, saying, "I'm so weak." However, knowing he would become a legendary figure in the revenge saga to come, I reassured him that there was no need to apologize. Next, all he needed was to put in the effort, and results would surely follow. 7 days later, in the Dongshan villa, Ton Tu Cheong was reporting the situation. From his words, I learned that the regulations in Dongshan had been thoroughly posted outside, while I had entrusted him with full management and informed him of my departure the next morning. Ton Tu Cheong was taken aback and asked, "Master, why are you leaving so soon? But your protective gear is still missing a piece." Yet, when I mentioned that there were greater opportunities and treasures outside that I needed to quickly seek out, Ton Tu Cheong immediately stepped closer and said, "Master, so make sure to return quickly, for if the floods surge into the White Emperor's palace, no one will be there to manage it." Without hesitation, I suggested to him, "Go and summon them here. Tonight, we must prevent this calamity from taking root." Time flew by, and soon it was morning. After addressing the aftermath, I was preparing to leave when a subordinate of Song Tzu Chong approached with news of trouble brewing at the foot of the mountain. Upon hearing this, I felt no sense of relief. If they couldn't handle a minor disturbance like this, it could only mean that Song Tzu Cheong had gathered a band of inept followers. Observing her urgency, the girl quickly explained, "The leader of those individuals is under our control, but some claim to be your classmates, so I had no choice but to report to you." Thus, I decided to descend the mountain to assess the situation, and from the girl's account, I learned that the crowd gathered below was not there for any noble cause. They were protesting the regulation of a daily fee of 1 coin. They wanted a safe place to stay for free, but refused to pay a single dime. Before I could reach the steps, one of them shouted excitedly, "Chen Bai is here." He is none other than my high school classmate. Even though I had confirmed that this person was indeed Li Trian, an old friend, I still inquired of a few others why they were causing such a ruckus here. After all, the rules were not overly strict. Just by slaying a single zombie, one could earn a coin. Yet, Li Jian held up a banner behind him, proclaiming that this wasn't merely a matter of money. In this apocalypse, we should unite and help one another. If you have resources now, it's time to lend a hand to those struggling. So if you could drop this ridiculous rule, we would all be grateful. Hearing this, I could only sigh, feeling as though this group was truly suffering from a lack of common sense. To avoid wasting more time, I decided to order them away. I emphasized that if they didn't leave within 3 minutes, they would face severe consequences. My dark virus ability surged once more. This time, not only did I gain a new shield form, but I could also enhance any part of my body. As soon as I commanded the troublemakers to leave, I instructed Dui Ni to start a 3-minute countdown, stressing that if they didn't leave in time, they would be dealt with immediately. However, Li Jian just chuckled foolishly at my words. He declared he wouldn't be going anywhere for the next 3 to 5 minutes, as he couldn't possibly abandon those relying on him. As soon as he finished, a bodyguard stepped forward, shouting, "We don't protect two types of people, those who refuse to pay a single coin, and those who think they are always right." Following that, other bodyguards mocked, "If you can't earn a single coin, why don't you come to my place and be my door guard? I'll pay you 2 coins for that." "All right." Li Jian gritted his teeth, immediately retorting that he had no intention of joining this hellish place, not forgetting to leave a threatening remark for Chen Bai. "Just wait. I will make you regret this." Little did he know, as soon as he finished speaking, I activated my claw form. Then, faced with Dewey Air, reminding him that there was only 1 minute left, he dropped to his knees, pleading for a chance, declaring that he was willing to obey the rules here and would unconditionally accept the punishment for his mischief. Seeing that he was a clever opponent, I immediately sliced him in half. The scene left everyone stunned. They could never have imagined that he would act so rashly when things didn't go his way. I turned to Li Jian and said, "You weren't wrong. Allowing an enemy who harbors hatred for me to leave unpunished would truly make me regret it." I decided to let him join, but the condition was that he had to pay 5 coins in the first month. After that, he would return to the normal rules. With this matter settled, I handed all tasks over to Dewey Air, as I needed to seize the time to venture out and plunder. Just as I was about to step outside, a chat invitation from Meng Meng popped up in the system. From her words, I learned that although she had trained her combat skills in the dream world, it was still quite challenging to enhance her abilities in reality. When Meng Meng mentioned that she would come to find me in Wuxiang as soon as she could step outside, I agreed without hesitation. Remembering my past life, it was in the Wuxiang area that I received my Shrank job mission. I decided that my next destination would be the Sky of Warriors. It's important to note that while this mission isn't a level 3S, it could be used to trade for some valuable items or information. Not long after, in a certain area of Jiang City, a special zombie was wandering the streets. Above it, in a hotel, a group of people trapped inside were discussing their next course of action. It turned out that due to the zombies' incredibly keen senses, as soon as a few of them descended to the 10th floor, they would be attacked. Currently, they had already lost 5 teammates, and their food supplies were dwindling. At that moment, a girl standing behind suddenly reminded everyone to look out the window. They could see a figure swiftly maneuvering between the towering buildings. One member of the group mistook it for a newly emerged special zombie and immediately prepared to draw the curtains to avoid an attack. But unexpectedly, The bodyguard Yasha swiftly intervened, stating that he could discern with his abilities that the figure was not a zombie, but a living human. At the same time, as I landed on a rooftop, I instantly caught the attention of the Crimson Zombie. However, upon realizing that this zombie was known as the Overlord, I felt this was indeed a surprising discovery, for if I could eliminate it, I would obtain the necessary materials to enhance the Overlord's equipment. Thus, I decided to activate my attack mode immediately and charged forward, all of which was witnessed by those on the upper floors. Hearing Wei Xia mention that someone was battling the undead and transforming into a pair of sharp claws, Jiang Bing immediately exclaimed that a person with such transformative abilities must undoubtedly be a monster. Soon after, Xia was astonished to discover that the battle had concluded, and the figure down there seemed oddly familiar to them. Unbeknownst to me, I began absorbing the flesh of the fallen tyrant. At the same time, the system delivered a type of dark light virus, signaling that the purification process had begun. Strangely, my hand suddenly morphed into a gigantic shield, and from the system's control panel, I learned that this ability was referred to as the shield form of the dark light virus. Not only that, but the dark light virus also unlocked a new capability for muscle enhancement. The first ability significantly boosted defensive capabilities, while the second could amplify strength in any part of the body, unlike other forms. Just as my form stabilized, Wei Xia unexpectedly opened the window and called out loudly, "Chen Bai, is that you?" Hearing the commotion, I instinctively looked up, wondering which girl was calling my name. It was a surprising twist, truly surprising. I inadvertently revealed my identifier as an evolved one, which left my former college friends in shock. Even from the fond memories of the past, they deduced that I might possess the gift of prophecy. It turned out that right after Wei Xia witnessed me take down the tyrant, she opened the window and called out to me, "Are you Chen Bai?" Hearing the commotion, I looked up, only to realize that the entire building was eerily silent. At that moment, Zhang Ping was covering Wei Xia's mouth, sensing that below us lurked a figure capable of unleashing devastating power like thunder to annihilate the undead, perhaps a monster in disguise. If that were the case, the survivors here would be in grave danger. Just then, two of them heard a voice from outside. "I am Chen Bai. Did someone just call for me?" Upon hearing this, Wei Xia's spirits lifted. It really is Chen Bai. As I laid eyes on the newcomers, I immediately recognized them as my dear friend, Song Ge and Wei Xia. After a brief moment, when Wei Xia inquired about Song Ge's recent situation, I explained that I had established a shelter at the Dongsan Villa, where Song Ziqiang was managing nearly 100 people within. Thus, Song Ge, being her daughter, was naturally very safe. Upon hearing this, the group immediately wore expressions of disbelief, as in their minds, Song Ziqiang was the queen of Jiang City. How could she possibly heed the words of a mere college student? However, when I suggested that proving this wasn't a lie was as simple as heading to the Dongsan Villa, the door suddenly swung open. Even I was taken aback to see these people, my college classmates, hastily rushing in from the adjacent room, eager to confirm upon hearing my name. Seeing me rise, I asked them how they ended up here. Lin Qisheng explained that on the day of the apocalypse, Jiang Ping had been working extra hours at the script store to support Wei Dai Hua, who had invited many students, including them. As a result, they were trapped here for days, blocked by the zombie lurking downstairs. Realizing that many students were gathered here, I suggested to them that if they wished, they could relocate to the Dongshan Villa. I added that there was a rule to pay 1 coin daily, wondering if they could handle such a condition. Jiang Ping was the first to respond, explaining that if they hadn't been blocked by the monster, they might have already had a few gold coins in hand. However, when he thought about the dangers that lurked on the road, Jiang Ping hoped that I could lead them along. I told him that I still had many tasks to attend to, and currently there was only one formidable zombie in the area. Then, to the astonishment of everyone around me, I pulled out a pile of low-level gear, stating that I had no use for these items and would give them to help ensure their safety. Having done all I could to assist them, I decided not to linger any longer. But just as I was leaving the hotel and making my way through the building, Meng Meng texted me, saying that someone named Han Wang in the group was lamenting. I will leave you with what you need for self-defense. I have done my best to assist them, and now I have decided not to linger any longer. However, as I stepped out of the hotel and made my way through the buildings, Mok sent me a message saying that there's a guy in the group named Han Vuong who has been complaining. He feels that his abilities could be of help to others. As I observed this scene, I found myself deep in thought. Could the person Mok referred to be Han Vuong, also known as Han Diuling? Not long after, in a room, Jiang Bing was discussing the departure time with Trio Mok. It's crucial to know that a place bustling with evolved individuals is of utmost importance to them. Yet, what troubled Jiang Bing was that to reach the Dongsun villa, they had to traverse half of Jiangthang. Before Li Feng beside him could chime in, Tei Thu Ah suddenly exclaimed, "Why are you back again?" I had told her that I needed a room to handle some unforeseen situations. Hearing this, Trio Mok immediately invited me to his room, and Koitheng watched as the three of them linked arms and walked away. Tei Thu Ah felt like a joke to Jiang Dai, completely ignored by others. But suddenly, an idea struck her, and she quickly chased after them, asking about Songkat's evolution number, expressing her desire to add more friends. Witnessing this, Lum Koithen swiftly caught on. They also asked me about my evolution number. But when I mentioned the 3 digits, 001, Lam Koithen burst into laughter, exclaiming, "We're all evolved beings, yet this cold humor hasn't changed a bit." However, just after that, Trio Mok patted him on the shoulder. He urged him to add more details to understand the situation better. When the notification appeared on the screen indicating that the evolved being number 001 had accepted the friend request, Lam Koithen exclaimed, "Oh my gosh!" Not long after, a dozen people began to engage in hushed discussions in the living room. Though I knew from my own mouth that this was the sequence number of the evolved beings, both of them still couldn't fully believe I was the first evolved being. At that moment, Trio Mok spoke up. "Do you remember before the trial began, Chen Bai had asked everyone to train their bodies in the dormitory group?" Hearing this, Lam Koithan suddenly stood up straight. Could it be that Chen Bai had known about the apocalypse that early on,